Welcome to the show. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. This is Charlton and Big C Sports Worldwide on the iHEART Radio Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our good old boy listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, I love them good old boys up in Canada so much, Big C. I worked on 2 lines. I even got some voice training. I'm going to say, whoa, Canada, our home and native land. And I didn't have enough money to pay for the third verse, Big C, but I think I knocked those first 2 out the box. But there's still no one I love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
It's going wonderful down here. Football season is about to begin tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the lifeblood of the Southern life.
Yeah.
We do it down here like nobody else does. And I know there's a lot of copycatters out there on the West Coast and in the Midwest. But this is a real football platform down here, Jonathan. Eventually, what's the commissioner's name? Your buddy?
Goodell, Roger Goodell. That good old boy?
Roger Goodell. I didn't want to say his name.
Yeah.
Roger one day will bring the draft down here to the hotbed. He's up there in the city of Philadelphia. I think they call it the city of brotherly love.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody up there loving anybody right now.
No, not.
Last time, Jonathan, they got a city full of losers. I haven't seen anything from the 76ers. I haven't seen anything from the Eagles.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they still got a baseball team called the Phillies. So,
Oh, that.
and the Flyers is going to the NHL this past year. So come on down here to Atlanta where we got teams that go to the Super Bowl.
That's some good old boy talk from the South, Big C. And I want to say today is a beautiful April the 27th, 2017, and there's so much spring in the air, Big C. All of the flowers are blooming. In California, it's hard to find anybody that walks around with a shirt on, Big C, and they're not just the NBA basketball players, Big C. And there's so much happening in the world of sports. We have the draft, as you talked about. Baseball is still in the swing of things, and then the NBA is coming down to what we call NBA madness, Big C, getting through this first round. And also, I just love bringing up everything that POTUS is doing in the White House. But, I want to say that today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, as we get into just some talk about everything that's going on in the world of sports, I want to say that Big C Sports is growing so rapidly. I know that yesterday, ESPN, them good old boys, they laid off several people. Trent Dilfer and Danny Cannell were one of them. Most of the guys that criticized Colin Kaepernick and said that no one should give him a job, Big C, they got fired too. You got fired, Big C. No. Yeah.
He has the lowest yardage in a Super Bowl of any quarterback in history.
Yeah.
So, it shows that this team could win without him, anybody that's stuck in there. But, Danny Cannell, who's been a critic on the airwaves for many years.
He got fired too.
There's been a flop coming out of Florida State.
Yeah.
And a journeyman in the NFL, with teams like the Giants and the Browns, he couldn't even, crash the starting lineup. So
Yeah.
It's amazing how guys, Charlton, over the years that have become these great analysts.
Yeah.
They had the best seat in the house as players because they were on the bench.
Yep, that's true.
But, they sit up and criticize guys that can play.
Yeah.
That's always a problem. So did they have that same mindset, when they were players?
Yeah.
Did they criticize everybody else who were around them?
Yeah, that's true, Big C. Speaking of the world of opportunity, and it's just ironic. Media is about competition, and ESPN has lost so much money. And Big C, I just want to validate you again, because you were saying that the network is going to suffer because everybody reads from a teleprompter. It's almost like going to a concert. I think Bruno Mars, He's coming to Sacramento, Northern California this year, and he's going to perform at the Golden One Center. And he better not lip sync, because if he does, people are going to walk out. Them good old boys at ESPN, and I love a lot of my brethren. I'm not making fun of them, but it's just a fact. They have so many people that cannot do a show unless you have a teleprompter, and it's noticeable. That's why people, I think they lost about $7 million in the last quarter. When people realize they don't want to go to a concert and watch you lip sync, they want to have you do it impromptu, the same way Big C Sports does it, Big C. And you've been saying that for the last year, Big C. I think via ESPN started listening to Big C. Big C, go right ahead, sir.
One of the things, Charlton, is that everybody's on there about looking pretty.
Yeah.
The lack of knowledge of being able to entertain the listening or viewing audience, Charlton.
Yeah.
I think that's becoming a problem. There's too much intelligence out there in the public to sit there and try to lie to somebody and make them think that you're knowledgeable because you're reading a prompter.
Yeah.
What we at in society nowadays, Charlton, it's almost like going to the school system.
Yeah.
Where they've eliminated history because people have access to the internet and they can find out true history other than what was written in some book 50 years ago and saying that's how history was.
Yeah.
The world has been opened up, and that's what has happened now with the multimedia. Is that it's not just you sitting there listening to Sports Center back in 1983 when it came on the air.
Yeah.
You know, now you have access. You're not looking at a newspaper that come out once a day, Charlton. You have instant access to sports and world knowledge.
Yeah.
So when you want to sit there, and ESPN does so much looping all day long, they're not up to date all day long on the news that they service the general public with.
Yeah.
It's almost like watching a soap opera. We saw this episode yesterday. But, you know, to bring people in, you know, and they cleaned house quite a bit.
Yeah.
And the area has changed there. But even some of this new blood that they're bringing in, Charlton, it's not entertaining.
No.
It's about ESPN is trying to serve up eye candy now. They're saying that they can hold a sports audience with eye candy.
Yeah.
I care less about the cleavage that a woman has on her dress.
Yeah.
I'm not being sexist or racist.
Yeah.
I can care less about how tight a guy's suit is, Charlton.
Well, hold on. Hold on. What's Shannon Sharp? Is it Sterling? Which one wears a suit that's painted on his body, Big C? He's too big to have it into that fist, naturally. Okay. That brother, he at least works out, though, Big C. You got to get him credit for that, Big C.
Well, I give him credit for working out, but, you know, you got to get out of the medium suit sometime also.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny. You know, what's funny, you talk about eye candy, and I love what we're doing with Big C Sports. We put our heart and soul into the show. No teleprompter, no producer in our ear, and no script. And sometimes Big C does his thing from the East Coast about 3,000 miles away on his boat. You know, I don't know how many live fish he had jumping around in that boat. Sometimes they hit the microphone every now and then, but Big C keeps running with it. I do want to say something today about being out in beautiful California in the world of acting. You know, met an actress today. Her name is Megan, and her last name is Page, and the middle name is Kenyon. She's an incredible actress, very easy to look at, very pleasing in the eyes, very talented. But what I love about meeting Megan today, and she's a model, does a lot of modeling all over California, and it's very stunning. But what I liked about her is she also listened to Big C Sports. Big C, that's more important than how good she looks. Does that make any sense to you, Big C? Yeah.
And the beauty of our show resonates to the women. We've always known we've had a great female following.
Yeah.
Because we speak in protection of women where other sports shows don't.
Yeah.
And other sports shows think of women as a secondary entity or an object that they should put up there for everybody to gawk at.
Yeah.
But, you know, in this age of modernization and technology, Charlton, is that, you know, when you're giving something, you want it to be genuine.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about, I'm trying to think about it, a guy named Drake, the artist, you know, his song called Love, you know, and we get so much fake stuff given to the listeners and viewing audience nowadays, Charlton.
Yeah.
By these broadcasters that, you know, it's about self-serving themselves, not servicing the listening and viewing audience.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, and I want to bring this point up too, because even in the world of being real, I just want to bring us to the NFL draft, and I love the draft, don't get me wrong, but I still think about how they're saying it's a weak year in the draft, especially for quarterbacks. And we had the top quarterback in the country the last 2 years, African-American guy, Watson out of Clemson, been to the last 2 national championship games. And all of a sudden, we have a weak quarterback draft. When you have the most dominant quarterback that went 28-2 in the last 2 seasons of college football, there's no way it could be a weak quarterback draft. But we have a guy projected number 1 that actually set the bench for 3 years at North Carolina of all teams. Big C. Oh, okay, yeah. And he has Watson has more wins in one season than this guy has in his whole career. But they're saying that Watson's not the number 1 pick. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, I'm talking the reason why there's a weak quarterback draft because 4 of the top 5 quarterbacks are African American.
They don't want to pay him.
It's probably the first time in draft history that has come about. Led by Watson, Deshaun Kaiser, Mahomes out of Texas Tech, and I keep forgetting the last kid, but you got 4
yeah.
that are sitting there. And how can all of a sudden it's weak draft and you're saying that the best quarterback available is Trubisky?
Yeah.
If he's drafted the first quarterback during the draft, Jonathan, what a slap in the face to Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah.
By the status quo society of the NFL. If he has an African-American quarterback, you go 28-2 over your last 2 years in college.
Yeah.
28-2, Jonathan, as a starter. You win 35 games as a starter.
Yeah.
In college because he took over the sophomore year.
Yeah.
But to say that you're not of quality, where your top quarterback drafted last year, Jonathan, won 14 games over a 2-year span in college when Watson won as his senior.
Yeah.
In his final year.
Yeah.
But this is how the status quo of the NFL has been. When you look at the success of the starting African American quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
And this is not, people say, well, you guys are always talking black and white.
Life is black and white.
Truly, the sport is, and life is black and white.
Yeah.
And it's obvious when you look at it. If Joe Flacco had a bad year last year in Baltimore, well, the team, he lacked weapons. Okay?
Yeah.
But he still cashed that $24 million paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Even though he was lacking but also when you make $24 million a year, shouldn't you make everybody else around you better?
That's what I hear.
That's what I kind of think. If you're the guy making $24 million and the receiver's only making 1.5,
yeah.
you should be, 10 times better than him as a player. Every ball you throw to him should be on the money. He shouldn't even have to break stride.
Yeah.
The ball is always there. But we look up and down the ledger, and every white quarterback in the NFL that has a bad season
yeah.
has somebody to blame. You even look in Washington where you got the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins. You got 3 all-pro receivers. But Kirk Cousins could only produce, 8 victories in Washington this last season?
Yeah. Yeah.
8 victories. He's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. So I'm trying to figure out where's the love affair and why is everybody so enamored with the Kirk Cousins who's only had 1 season in his full career, but he was above 500.
Well, yeah, that's very good.
For a white quarterback, if you're a black quarterback, you're real, they ask you to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
If you're a white quarterback, you're sub 500, they give you the highest paid contract in the NFL, just like Andrew Luck.
Yeah. That's a very good point you bring up, Big C. And I think, obviously, people just want to see the truth. I think the Bruno Mars concert that's going to be in Northern California this year, this spring or summer, I think the cheapest ticket, Big C, and that's a nosebleed at the beautiful Golden One Center. I think it's $300 for the nosebleed, for the cheapest ticket. Now, I know a lot of good... Well, no, I get in free, Big C. If I don't get in free, I don't even go, Big C. That's just the way it is when you work in media. But the good old boys are going to pay $300 for a cheap ticket. And I think the highest ticket down by the floor, or you can have him sweat on you. He starts dancing, that sweat starts flying around. I think that's about $1,000. And that's fine. People can go out and buy what entertainment you want. I think some good old boy, was it $25,000 they spent on the Big C World Series in Chicago? I know it's a very high price ticket. So people can spend what they want to spend. But Big C, I just want to get your thoughts on a few things. Just names that come up in the draft. In the Cleveland Browns, they talk about Myles Garrett. He's a good old boy out of Texas A&M. And the guy is yoked, about 6'4". Obviously a very dominant pass force, okay? But just like you mentioned the other day, the New England Patriots, how do they keep winning when they're not worried about who's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the reason why, Jonathan, is that the Patriots already have their draft.
Yeah.
Doing free agency.
Yeah.
When you look at teams that are successful in the NFL, and okay?
Yeah.
You draft players out of college, okay?
Yeah.
Those players that you draft out of college are used to playing against college players. They're not NFL tested. They're not NFL schedule ready, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're not NFL workout ready. They're not NFL game ready.
Yeah.
Okay? But when you go out and you think about Bill Belichick, you know, and this is what we're talking about with New England. When you look at the players that he picks up, mostly he picks up players that he has competed against. He'll pick up players out of the Eastern Conference. I mean, he'll pick up players from New York,
Yeah.
from Miami. He does this from Buffalo. He just signed Gillisley from Buffalo. He signed defensive linemen from the Jets. But he signs players that he's played against.
Yeah.
And these players that have given him fits. You know, it's like when he went out and got Hogan last year off of Cleveland's practice roster, okay?
Yeah.
Hogan knew the NFL game. He knew how to play. He knew how to make the NFL adjustments. And you know, you think about it, the NFL has these emporiums where they're trying to get players ready for NFL life, okay?
Yeah.
That's the biggest adjustment you have to make is NFL life. Because, you know, I remember as a young man, we didn't get but $1.50 a game when I started. But, you know, the guys now, you know, you get a rookie player, and all of a sudden every week he's getting a $500,000 check.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so his life is just a playground. So he's more enamored with the money than he is about the business. So the New England Patriots have gone out and got players who understand the business, that are NFL tested and ready to be plugged into the lineup. The draft, you know, just like ESPN has made it, Charlton, has become a show.
Yeah.
It's not about talent, because the draft should only take 2 days max to be done. And you should do 3 rounds in the first day, 4 rounds in the second day, and be over with.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you go out there and you're taking a chance on these guys, and the biggest thing that everybody's talking about now, Charlton, is character. Why is that?
Yeah. I think, Big C, they talk about character, but it's a farce, because everybody that plays in this game, you got to be a little bit crazy to play pro football. You got to be wired a little bit differently to slam your body into another big, strong man for 3 hours. So not everybody can play the game, even though they want to play the game. But let me just bring this up, because in order to play the game at the highest level, a lot of these good old boys, they got to take supplements. They got to take something, whether it's legal or not, and it got to make you more, it got to put more gasoline on your barbecue grill, if that makes any sense, Big C. And so I'm not saying that, I'm not justifying anyone who can't control themselves, but they pump you full of whatever they pump you full of, and they say act like a normal person. It's almost not possible. But I got to bring this thing up. That good old boy out of Ohio State, the defensive back that a lot of people...
Conley. That was Conley.
Yeah, and obviously if he did something wrong, obviously, you know, he's going to be in trouble. But when we talk about whether he did or did not commit the sexual assault against a woman, any man that does that should do some time. But when I look at it, look at POTUS, Donald Trump. He brags about grabbing women by the vagina. He was never prosecuted. He didn't spend any time in jail. He didn't have to bail out, and he definitely didn't lose his career. He became the president of the United States. Bill O'Reilly at Fox News. Okay, that good old boy, I think he had over 17 sexual assault allegations, and it took 17 that we know about. And then Fox, when they fired him after all the years of women complaining about it, they paid him, I think, $25 million to leave. So why so much pressure? He was never prosecuted. He was never brought up on charges. He wrote a check and it went away. Why is there so much of an impetus to ruin the career of an African-American athlete when they see white guys, including the president, doing the same garbage and nothing happens to them? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the glamour of the media, is that they want to ride on the negativities of it. Let me explain to you the evidence of what a football player is, Charlton. Okay?
Yeah.
You are paid to commit violence.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the evidence of a football player. You are paid to commit violence. So to say that these are just normal people,
Yeah.
they are not. You are built to be a violent person.
Yeah.
And you get a copious amount of money for doing it. The kids that get drafted tonight will receive millions of dollars, so they'll all be first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
The number 1 pick will get $25 million, Charlton. The number 32 pick will probably get a contract around $7 to $8 million, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they'll all become instant millionaires. Paid to be violent. So when the general public looks at an athlete and says, well, this guy behaved this way, he got in this fight, this bar, whatever, his career, he's paid to do that. Granted, he's not supposed to do it outside the job place.
Yeah.
But it happens. You can't control that all classroom. You don't want to put these guys in a bad light.
Yeah.
But, the media needs to be more understanding and speak about the other side of it, the business side, why these guys are like they are.
Yeah.
You think about from the college level, Jonathan, say the University of Alabama, your buddy Nick Saban.
Yeah. Yeah.
And got your Mercedes from his dealership.
Hey, you don't tell all my secrets, Big C. I cannot confirm or deny that, okay? Go right ahead, sir.
But when you think about it, Nick Saban will bring in 10 of the top defensive linemen in the country.
Yeah.
10 of the top 100 defensive linemen in the country.
Yeah.
What do these guys have to do to compete for a starting position? Because he's going to have 3 of them drafted tonight, 3 of his defensive players.
Yeah.
What do they have to do to compete for a position? They have to be violent
Yeah.
every day in college, okay?
Yeah.
Every day in practice. They have to be ultimately violent out there against another individual.
Yeah.
To try to gain a starting position. So this is taught to them over the 4 years. It also went on in high school.
Yeah.
You look at Pop Warner, all the parents out there who have Pop Warner kids. You out there, coaches teach them how to hit, how to tackle,
Yeah.
how to be tough. Okay, so it's taught to these young men from an early age, and it progresses over the years to get tougher and tougher, to be meaner and meaner.
Yeah.
You never hear anybody say, go out there and be a sissy as a football player, okay?
Yeah.
Go out there and be soft. Act like a pillow.
Yeah.
They don't say that.
Wait, hold on. You said they don't tell them to act like a pillow? Is that what you said, Big C? I've never heard that before. That's funny, Big C. And thinking of not acting like a pillow, you talk about the defensive guy. You're a defender. You guys like to hold a lot. You guys like to bite and pinch and all that good old cheating stuff you do at the bottom of a tackle. Okay, allegedly. I still got some scratch marks. They got this good old boy out of LSU. His name is Jamal Adams. He's a safety, and they're thinking he may go to San Francisco. Something about the SEC that they have the best athletes, I would say. I know the Pac-12 has a lot of good athletes. So does the Big Ten. But the speed guys, they happen to come from the South, the SEC country. And that's a good old boy as a safety. I guess he reminds a lot of people like a Ronnie Lott. Your thought about what it is in the SEC, the same team that Deshaun Watson competed against in the national championship, the team out of that conference. What is it about them that gives their athletes an upper edge, say against guys like out of the Big 12 or guys out of the WAC conference, Big C? Just your thoughts on that. Why are they so good?
Well, it's what I just spoke about, John. It starts from that early age where, football is the lifeblood of the South.
Yeah.
Everything else is secondary. They really don't care whether they have a successful basketball team, even though they do have them down here.
Yeah.
Baseball is pretty good, but football is a year-round thing. They talk football, in the coffee shops in the morning, Jonathan.
Yeah.
In the diners in the evening. Even at the luncheries, during lunchtime.
Yeah.
Football is always talked about in the South. And when you think about it, you look at some of the massive stadiums that are in the southern part of the United States, Jonathan. They have the largest football stadiums in college football, all down to the southern region. There's a couple in the Northeast, the Big Ten, a couple in the Pac. But when you look at overall conference strength,
yeah.
the SEC has the largest attendance that you're going to have in a conference.
Well,
so that's why people are so crazy about the game down here, Tony.
Yeah.
But, you start off with youth football, that you have, teams with, 2,000 people at a youth football game.
Wow.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
You don't see that everywhere. You go to a high school football game, Jonathan, you're always getting 10 to 15,000 people.
Yeah.
I know Texas and Pennsylvania has a large following also.
Yeah.
But we're talking about something that's just consistent across the board, okay? Is that these people do this, and they teach their kids this is what they should have in life.
Yeah.
Even though there should be alternatives taught to kids.
Yeah.
But they believe so much in the game of football that other sports have become secondary.
Well, Big C, that's a very good point. Now, as a defensive guy, I know you cover all the positions, but I just want to get your thoughts on this good old boy from Alabama, Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle. I think he's one of the most dominant players that I've seen in a long time in college football. Now, he's 6'3", 286 pounds. He might be a little bit heavier than that just based on how hard it is for him to get that shirt wrapped around his biceps, Big C. But your thoughts on Allen? How you've seen a lot of good players. You played the D-line spot. What is your thought on Allen? Will he be an immediate impact in the NFL, or is he a guy that's going to take a year or two under some good old boys knowledge? Big C, your thoughts?
He's probably the best defensive back of his American who was drafted, Charlton, by
Really?
the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
And I understand that Cleveland is going to take Myles Garrett first overall.
Yeah.
But I also think that Cleveland is making a mistake. You're not going to get a Von Miller. You're not going to get an Elvis Dumerville.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a Tommy Hall. You're not going to get that in the draft. The guy didn't play every down.
Yeah.
That's the problem I had with Myles Garrett, is that, in the 11 sacks that he had on the season, Charlton, 4 of them came in one game.
Wow.
And you play a 13-game college season, so evidently you took a couple games off and you took a lot of plays off.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this young man is not a tremendous talent, that in the right situation he can evolve.
Yeah.
But he's not going to the right situation in Cleveland. To me, Jonathan Allen is the best player on the board. If I have an organization and I want a cornerstone on defense, I'm taking Jonathan Allen because he was a grown man playing amongst boys in college for the last 2 years. No one stopped him. But, it's nice to say that Garrett, but you can move away from a pass rush until this guy develops.
Yeah.
Von Miller is a freak, okay?
Oh, yeah.
In Denver. They came out of the same university. And this will be a test. Von Miller is the benchmark that you have to compare Myles Garrett against.
Yeah.
Okay, now if he doesn't have that success, he comes out as a rookie, he's the 1 overall pick, and he doesn't get the double-digit sacks, so he's a bust.
Well, let me ask you this question. You just brought up a very good point, Big C. Von Miller, the Super Bowl MVP from 2 years ago when they were out here in San Francisco when they beat up on the Carolina Panthers. And just think about what happened. We talked about who's going to get drafted, who's going to go where. Von Miller, as the most dominant player in the NFL, had to beg for a pay extension from John Elway, them good old boys up in Mile High, Denver, right? Why would think about it. Why would Elway, who was also an MVP at one time in the league, one of the highest paid players ever, why would they force Miller to almost have to, well, he did have to hold out to get his money. As the NFL's most dominant player, and he earned it in the Super Bowl, he earned it in the AFC championship game, he earned it against Pittsburgh, he earned it against New England, and he earned it against Carolina. All those quarterbacks that he was sacking, they were $100 million quarterbacks, but them good old boys made him beg for more money, Big C. The reason I say that is because we have guys right now they want to open up the paycheck to, and they never even earned it. And I go back to Brock Osweiler last year, when he signed for, $73 million with the Houston Texans, and he was benched in Denver, but they gave that good old boy $73+ million, and they made Von Miller the NFL's most valuable defensive player. They made him wait. So what does the draft have to do with this? I want to just ask you this question. If they made the most dominant player in the history of last year's game anyway, if they made him wait for his money, how is Myles Garrett going to even command anything close to what Von Miller had to beg for? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, his contract is already set. The rookie contract pay scale is already set. But you're talking about Brock Osweiler. His contract actually was larger than Von Miller's contract.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Okay?
Yeah.
He got more money than Von Miller, and he was the guy holding the clipboard during the Super Bowl while Von Miller was knocking out quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Also, when you look at that, I didn't recall Kirk Cousins begging for any money from Washington.
No.
They couldn't wait to give him $25 million for 8 wins, okay?
Yeah.
Not a Super Bowl MVP. Not an all-pro season, but 8 wins. 8 wins were worth $25 million to Kirk Cousins. And I'm bad at math, and I'm thinking that's maybe a little more than $3 million a game.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Paying the guy for not being a winning quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, that's the double standard. And like I keep saying, I want the audience to understand the struggle for the African-American quarterback to get a payday.
Yeah.
Now, you look at all the free agent quarterbacks that were signed this year during free agency prior to the draft, and you look at Colin Kaepernick still being without a job.
Yeah.
How many of those quarterbacks, Charlton, have been to the Super Bowl as starters?
Yeah.
How many of those quarterbacks have been twice to AFC or NFC championship game as starters, Charlton? Okay? But here's Colin Kaepernick because Donald Trump's asinine statement,
Yeah.
he can't get a job, okay?
Yeah.
So, since the NFL has fallen to the pressure of Trump because so many owners are Republicans, okay?
Yeah.
And saying that he's going to help them out over time up until he gets impeached. But, when you look at these scenarios, and we talked about this a minute ago about the draft.
Yeah.
Everybody, lambasting
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick is more NFL ready than Trubisky is.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
All right?
Yeah.
He's more ready than him. Trubisky will never make it to a Super Bowl.
No.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it right now. I'm not wishing the young man bad luck.
No, he couldn't even win the ACC. How's he going to win the Super Bowl?
He's not going to make it to a Super Bowl.
He couldn't make it to the ACC championship game.
After the last couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Big C. And you're right. He couldn't make it to the ACC championship game, but all of a sudden he's going to take a team to the Super Bowl. And I hear some of these good old boys saying he's a can't-miss guy because he's 6'1" and 200 pounds. Everybody's 6'1", 200 pounds nowadays in the college football game, Big C. But I do want to bring this up, and I want to just bring it up because it's real talk. I know there's always a bias when it comes to the black athlete and the white athlete, especially when it's time to get money. But anyone can pick up any draft board, and you'll see of the 32 teams that are drafting for the NFL draft, of the 32 teams, just based on paper, depending on what board, out of 32 teams, Big C, about 27 of the first 32 draft picks are African Americans, okay? And people say, well, why does that matter? I'll tell you why it matters. Because we just told you that Von Miller was the most dominant player in the NFL when he helped the Broncos beat the Carolina Panthers in the Super Bowl. And the good old boy John Elway made him beg for more money. And they gave $73 million to Brock Osweiler, who was sitting on the bench at the same Super Bowl, Big C. That's why it matters, because all things matter and money talks, Big C. Another thing I want to touch on in the world of sports is that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to that billion-dollar industry. If you need athletics and event insurance, tweet out the Big C Sports on the iHEART Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, we go through Ben and Mark. They've been doing it for half a century. Tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. Big C, back into the world of the draft. And I just want to get your thoughts, because one of the top guys coming into the draft out of the West Coast is Christian McCaffrey. Okay, this guy broke Reggie Bush's records. He happens to be Caucasian. They don't build him as a white guy. They just build him as McCaffrey. Oftentimes, when it's about the quarterback, they talk about the black quarterback. I know that's back in the day. It's not as much now. But they still do it by saying, well, we need someone who can stand in the pocket and not someone so athletic. I want to just bring up McCaffrey. Here's a guy that runs about a 4.40. 40. He's very shifty. He's like the white version of Reggie Bush. Not very durable. Maybe he can touch the ball 15 times a game, but you definitely got to get him on the corner. You don't want to run him through the gut. His father also played in the NFL. I want to get your thoughts on McCaffrey. I know a lot of guys didn't see him a lot because he's on the West Coast, and Stafford played most of the games about 7 o'clock kickoff. What are your thoughts on McCaffrey? Can he be an impact player on year one, Big C, in the NFL? Your thoughts?
If he was black, everybody would be talking about him as a potential #1 draft pick overall.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's what they would be saying, but he's not black, he's white, so he's going to fall down probably 12th in the draft, somewhere 12 and 15.
Yeah.
But if he was black, and that's how everybody looks at everything, ironically these days.
Yeah.
Is they base it on skin color.
Yeah.
Quarterback that's white to be the first quarterback taken in the draft, even though he's not the best, but
Yeah.
he's white.
Yeah.
The best running back potentially in the draft will drop down to 10 to 12 because he's white.
Yeah.
He's not black.
Yeah.
But McCaffrey, Johnson, is that player, but I like where he is in the draft.
Yeah.
That he won't be drafted in the top 10. That means he'll go to a better organization that will give him a better chance at having a solid NFL career.
Yeah.
You always got to look, Johnson, at the guys who are drafted in the top 5. Not often do they all have all-pro careers, Shelton.
Yeah.
Because they go into a bad organization. They're not in a solid foundation in the NFL. And it's almost like the reversal of what the NFL should be.
Yeah.
You're rewarded with the best players coming out of the draft for having a bad organization. But you destroy so many careers by doing that. And I'll go back to the great Jim Plunkett. Jim Plunkett, Heisman Trophy winner, ex-Stanford.
Yeah.
One draft pick overall, went to the Boston Patriots.
Yeah.
Long before they were good. Boston Patriots was a pathetic team. He got the crap beat out of him for several years in Boston.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before they got rid of him.
Yeah.
But when Plunkett got a chance to go to a good organization with the Raiders at the latter part of his career, what did he do, Johnson? He won 2 Super Bowls in 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's about going to a good organization. We've seen that so often over the years. When we look at the #1 pick in the draft, people talked about how good Andrew Luck was coming out of college.
Yeah.
It has not developed because he's in a bad organization.
Yeah.
The Colts have, and I think they're supporting him. And when you look across the board, everywhere, you know, these quarterbacks, I mean, Jared Goff, your buddy, you know, you guys are out of Starbucks together.
He's not my buddy, Big Z.
Look at where he is.
Yeah.
You know, he needs a couple Starbucks to lift him up right now.
Yeah.
It's a snake playing handball in the gutter.
Yeah.
That's where he is right now with his emotions. You know, I know he's looking at the draft last year, wishing that he didn't go number 1 overall.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to have that title, but look at where he ended up, Charlton.
Yeah.
He ended up with a team and a coach that had no grasp of what they were doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at the number 1 draft pick tonight. You know, everybody's got Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett is the wrong guy from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Everybody's talked about his sacks, but no one statistically is telling you how he got those sacks.
Yeah.
You know, he looks great in total numbers, but he only got them over in a 5 games out of a 13-game season.
Yeah.
So he was not that productive. So what Cleveland really needs, Charlton, is linemen. They need offensive defensive linemen, not a pass rusher.
Yeah.
Because you got a pass rusher that you can move away from.
Yeah.
You can chip him and slow him down, and that's what will happen with Myles Garrett. Halfway through his first season in the NFL, he'll have some type of nagging injury because people will chip him all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like college ball, Charlton.
And also, he doesn't play in the snow down there in the great state of Texas. It's going to be cold most of the time up in Cleveland. I want to get your thoughts on another great player that may not even, I mean, he's not part of the draft, but the Oakland Raiders, I thought they did something great. It's a shame that they're leaving, that they're going to Las Vegas because they got Marshawn Lynch with a trade from the Seattle Seahawks. This reminds me of something that Bill Belichick would do, Big C. They weren't sitting around at the draft trying to see who they could get. I think with Carr in the backfield throwing the ball, you have Crabtree, you have that good old boy on the other wing from Alabama. I just think having and having beast mode in the backfield. I want to get your thoughts. Now, people say, well, he's over 30 years old, could be washed up. He wasn't that great last year, but he came off of an injury, had a horrible offensive line behind them good old boys in Seattle. He's going to play behind the best offensive line in the AFC. Dallas has the best offensive line in the NFC. If the Raiders and the Cowboys don't get to their championship games, then I think they're underachieved. How much better will beast mode make the Oakland Raiders, Big C, in your thoughts?
He's going to bring that mindset to the Raiders offense.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about signing him. This goes back to Mark Davis's dad, Al Davis, where you brought in these renegade players that everybody else had given up on, thought they were washed up.
Yeah.
They made the Raiders a success for decades, Charlton, by bringing in these cast-off players. Beast Mode is from that local area of the Bay, Charlton.
Yeah.
He played college across town over at Berkeley.
Yeah.
At Cal. But, you know, the number one thing with African-American athletes, Charlton, is they like to play in front of their mothers.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's the most inspirational point. His mother's right there in Oakland, so she doesn't have to get on a plane and travel.
Yeah.
You know, he can have that pregame meal at home with the mother if he wants now, and then go to the stadium. But, you know, just to be there around those people he grew up with, Charlton,
Yeah.
in Pop Warner, in high school, and a lot of college teammates, that's a motivational factor that he wants to come back and finally let these people see what he still has left in the tank.
Yeah.
And so that's that intangible, Charlton, that you can't get over. Now, he also brings that winning mentality to Oakland, Charlton. He has that Super Bowl ring, as well as defensive coordinator Ken Norton Jr.,
Yeah.
who coached him when he was at Seattle, was on the coaching staff. So, you know, they bring that winning mentality. You saw where the Raiders' defense was last year.
Yeah.
Now we got that winning mentality coming to the offense. There was a success last year. But when you bring a guy who has won championships and you put him in an organization that's winning, generally that will help catapult them, Charlton, over the top.
Well, Big C, I think that makes a very good point. I also want to bring up something about beast mode because this is real talk, okay? I remember in the Super Bowl game down in Arizona where Seattle was playing New England, and they had about, I think it was 2nd down and goal from the 4-yard line, and they would not give the ball to beast mode. He ran it from the 5 to the 1. It was 2nd and goal from the 2, actually from the 1-yard line. And everyone in the world outside of maybe 5 people that lived in Las Vegas, Big C, if you understand what I mean, they all thought that beast mode would get the ball. Okay, we know what happened. They didn't give it to him, and they threw a pass that was intercepted at Russell Wilson. Now, a lot of people said that Pete Carroll in the NFL did not want to see beast mode as the MVP of that game because they didn't like his swag look. They didn't like the fact that he says, I'm just here so I won't get fined. And they didn't want that. He has kind of an underground look. more of a culture, hip-hop look, and they wanted the clean-cut Russell Wilson or the clean-cut Tom Brady. I want to contrast this. Marshawn Lynch grew up in Oakland, California, with one of the top high schools over there in the East Bay. Tom Brady, America's prodigal NFL quarterback, he's America's darling at quarterback. He grew up about 15 miles away across the bay in San Mateo. Went to a private high school called Sarah of San Mateo. I think a lot of good old boys went to that high school. Barry Bonds also went to that same high school. Well, Marshawn Lynch has more charitable donations as an NFL player in the Bay Area than Tom Brady. But Tom Brady, he gets more accolades from the NFL as being their darling. But Marshawn Lynch is more of the example of what an NFL player should do, which is give back to the community. And Big C, when they signed him, his foundations, more people poured more money into the foundations. That's why Marshawn Lynch is such a valuable player, even on and off the field. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's because it's a minority foundation, okay?
Yeah.
But he gives to everybody. He benefits the entire state of California. And these are the things that the networks don't want to talk about. You know, that they want to talk about him not talking to them, Charlton, and that's more important than what he does in his community involvement.
Yeah.
And these are the things, these are the lights that the media does not shed enough on professional athletes. You want to talk about the negativity, the allegations that are raised against them. You know, I think about the young running back out of Oklahoma that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
Most likely won't get drafted for something he did as a teenager.
Right.
Not as a grown man, but as a teenager.
Yeah.
And teenagers make mistakes all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, but you're telling him that he was an 18-year-old, and his actions as an 18-year-old should affect the rest of his life, even though under Oklahoma law, Charlton, this is a well-known fact, all states don't have this. If two people commit the same act against each other, you have to charge them both with the same crime. The young lady punched him first.
Yeah.
He just had to turn and punch her harder.
Yeah.
So the district attorney had to charge both of them with misdemeanors other than charging both of them with felony assault, because that's what happened on both sides. So, but everybody's blaming him for reacting. Now think about if he had punched her first, okay? It's almost like the Tiger Wood Act.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Everybody can talk about how egregious it was, and you and I will defend women all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? But when you're attacked as an American citizen, you know, so many states have this stand your ground law. You have the right to defend yourself. You don't stop to look to see who did it, but if someone strikes you, you know, people are saying, well, he didn't have the right to defend himself because it was a woman that struck him.
Yeah.
But it was a white woman, and that's where all the complaint comes about, Justin, more than anything else. I'm not saying that he was right for striking her.
No.
He was wrong, okay?
Yeah.
He was wrong for doing that. But she was also equally wrong for striking him first. One action led to a greater reaction, Joe.
And I agree.
The media doesn't look at that.
Yeah.
They were saying that she had the right to strike him. He did not have the right to strike her back the way everything is played out.
And the sad thing about that, Big C, as we get ready to close the program, Donald Trump has made it so bad on any woman that ever goes under any type of sexual assault, because it happens every 20 seconds in the United States. Okay, but President POTUS Trump can never stand up and defend women because he's been one of the biggest predators out there. If any man agrees with some man grabbing your daughter by the vagina and laughing about it, never facing prosecution, that's called sexual assault. And he becomes the president of the United States of America because he's white. Imagine if Barack Obama was going around grabbing white girls by the vagina and then bragging about it. They would have impeached him on that alone. I mean, not only the dealings with Putin and Russia, but just think about that contrast when they put all over the media where a young black boy, because media is biased. I mean, in the criminal justice system, we all know that's biased, Big C. If white guys were treated the same way people of color are, people would say, well, we can't do that. This ban that we have on Mexicans that come from Mexico, they call them illegal aliens as opposed to human beings because of the drug trafficking. Well, most drugs in this country are consumed by white Americans. They're not being brought over by illegal aliens. In fact, I want to bring this up because it ties to sports, and they're always saying that some athlete tested positive for an illegal substance, which may be marijuana. But Big C, most of the drugs that are used in this country, they're not by black athletes, they're by white kids. And most of the marijuana dispensaries, they're licensed by white Americans. They're not coming over the border. So is Donald Trump going to have a ban on white men opening up marijuana dispensaries? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, just today at the University of Auburn, the FBI arrested 3 white students for drug trafficking on campus.
Yeah.
3 whites, okay?
They weren't from Mexico?
It won't get any national play.
You're saying they're not from Mexico, Big C? They were not from Mexico?
No, Charlton, they were 3
Did Rush Limbaugh talk about it on the radio today? Did you hear Rush Limbaugh talk about it, Big C?
We won't hear Rush Limbaugh. We won't hear Fox. We won't hear Sean Hannity, who's from Atlanta. We won't hear any of that, Jonathan, because these are whites, okay? We don't hear about the heroin epidemic in America, Jonathan, because it's white-laced. White-laced, you know, heroin right now, Jonathan, has been killing an average of 246 Americans a month, okay?
Wow.
Right now, 246 Americans a month. But because it's a white addiction, Jonathan, you're not hearing about it.
So Donald Trump is not going to build a wall for that. He's not building a wall.
No, he's not building a wall against those opiates because Rush Limbaugh uses the opiates. Okay?
Yeah.
But he's not building a wall against that. But, you know, they're not talking about that, about the white epidemic of heroin, Jonathan, in America because you don't want to use that embarrassment and say, hey, they're weak to a drug. But you catch an African American with some marijuana, Jonathan, an ounce of marijuana, you want to give him 7 years in prison.
Yeah, and that's a shame. And I want to bring it up as we come to a close, Big C. I mean, Big C Sports will advocate for everybody. We always say never any excuse for any violence against women, period, okay? And women shouldn't hit men either, but no excuse against that. Also, when it comes to people being prosecuted, I want the whole world to know, because you listen to iHEART Radio, in the United States of America, if you're a young black athlete and you do anything wrong, the first thing they want to do is fire you, take away your scholarship, or say, we're not going to draft him. And the New York Giants had a white kicker that beat his wife up over 20 times. Over 20 times she called 911, and the Mara family, they moved her around to a different hotel so he couldn't do it again at the Pro Bowl. They didn't fire him. He wasn't prosecuted, and he barely lost. I don't even think he lost a job until it got so much into the media, Big C, after a couple of years of this happening. But one black kid, they want to sabotage his whole career in mixing for something that he did a couple of years ago, which was dumb and was wrong. But I just want people around the world to see how justice is ferreted out in America. But we want to bring it real on Big C Sports. Big C, we got to make sure we talk about that. Before we close, I want to touch a little bit on the NBA tonight, Big C. And I know you're loving about Golden State already getting through their yeah. Oh, please, go ahead.
They're talking about the kid Nixon, okay, over and over out of Oklahoma on the incident that happened 4 years ago. Okay?
Yeah.
4 years ago. Josh Brown, you know, he just got released this last NFL season. How much coverage did that get prior to his release, and especially after his release? You heard nothing about it.
No.
You're still hearing about Nixon like it happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Josh Brown, 20 911 calls from his former wife, 20.
Yeah.
And the NFL, as well as ESPN and Fox, says nothing about his character. And the Giants paid him, actually doubled his salary the last year he played for beating up on his wife. And the Mara family knew about it.
What color was Josh Brown, Big C?
A white kicker.
Okay, I want the world to know that, because Big C Sports will bring it to you. You won't hear it on ESPN. I know a lot of the guys have been fired because people don't want to see someone read the news. They want to have you speak extemporaneously. You know, you got to say yes to life. When you say yes, it doesn't matter who you are. When you say yes, you open up the world of opportunities to you. Big C, as we close out our last program, our last segment today on this program before we get more into the draft tomorrow, the NBA tonight, San Antonio, I think they may close out in their game tonight against Memphis. I just want to get your thoughts on how that's playing. And I'm hoping, because I love basketball being on the West Coast, I hope that Chris Paul and them good old boys can go into Utah and bring the Game 7 back to the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, you know, they're going to have to play, Jonathan. You know, they've been such a disappointment over the last 3 years in the NBA is that they just can't get out of the first round.
Yeah.
I don't think they can get out of the first round this year, Jonathan. You know, Utah just has that magic right now. They're playing with house money.
Yeah.
You know, and the Clippers are the team that's playing under panic and pressure. They know all the pressure's on them. Utah no one expects them to win the series.
Yeah.
But all they got to do is go out there and play carefree basketball, and it's theirs for the taking.
That is so funny that you say that, Big C, because I know over the last couple of years, we've seen the Clippers. This seems like they have this issue with guys being injured. Last year was Chris Paul, and this year is Blake Griffin. And Doc Rivers is a great coach, but when you're breaking down all the time with your players, there's too much money to bring the whole crew back. I would love to see Russell Westbrook over there in Southern California, where he grew up playing for the Lakers somehow, some way. Magic, pull your magic and make that happen, Big C. As we close out the show, Big C, what are you looking forward to mostly with this draft and going into this week, Big C? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, you know, Charles, the thing that I'm looking forward to tonight is agreements on Mel Kiper's face. when he's trying to sit there and figure out why an NFL team made the pick that they picked, because they're knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And he's more knowledgeable. He's more smarter than any GM up there. He's trying to draft for what they need to fit their organization. Not from what Mel Kiper and Bill Goods that you sell to people.
Yeah.
He may be on that short list soon, Charlton, at ESPN, been cleaning house with these bad guesses that they have.
Yeah. I tell you what, Milwaukee, 1.5 point favorite over Toronto. San Antonio, 4 over Memphis. Do you see it going with the point spread? Or will Toronto turn things around against Milwaukee? That game is actually in Milwaukee, Big C. Your thoughts?
Milwaukee, Charlton, is a team that's on the brink. The Greek Freak is one of the best talents in the NBA. He may be the guy that they pass the torch to if LeBron ever decides to retire. But, he's one of those players that's so difficult to defend.
Yeah.
And he's at that point right now, Charlton. He's at that crescendo where he sees that opportunity for stardom. Toronto's a team up north where you butchered the national anthem.
I'm sorry, Big C. I did my best. I did my best.
It's kind of slid this year, from what they expected. They made some big off-season acquisitions.
Yeah.
They brought in Serge Ibaka out of Oklahoma City, and they just didn't get any better this year, Charlton, during the regular season. So you didn't expect much from them in the playoffs.
Well, Big C, I tell you, one thing I love about sports is we bring it to you real. We do it live all the time, extemporaneous, impromptu. I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. You can follow Big C Sports on the iHEART Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe according to Big C and them good old boys down south. And as we always tell you, there's never any reason for domestic violence against a woman. Just call 911. If anybody's threatening you, call 911. And as we always tell you for every program on Big C Sports, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.